Hello, I'm Bert Bassett. I've been a business seller on eBay for over 20 years. I even worked for eBay for 11 years. I've helped hundreds of sellers of all sizes to grow their sales on eBay, and now I'm creating videos to help you. Today, we're going to be talking about what happens when someone asks, "Are everybody else's sales bad these days on eBay?" I was inspired by this post I saw on Reddit, on the eBay subreddit. But quite frankly, I've heard this in all sorts of formats from all different people for many, many years. Someone saying, "Oh, things don't seem to be going well. Is everybody else having a hard time on eBay?" They post something like this, or they put something on Facebook and they get these types of comments, rapid decline since October began, wind up before Christmas. Loads of suggestions from fellow sellers and a lot of doomsayers as well. It's not really very productive. So, what do you do if someone asks you this? What do you do if you start asking yourself this? So, don't listen to randoms on the internet. The adage that we always believe in is that my facts beat your opinion. So the first thing we do is we look at our sales, and the numbers are just here in front of you. So you can go into Seller Hub, you go into performance, and you go into traffic. Now you can look at the past 30 days or any time scale, and it will compare it to a prior period. So you can actually look at last year as well. You can sense check and you can go into as much depth as possible to see whether you're doing better or worse. But generally what you'll find is, unless something disturbing is happening, not much is going on. You can see here that these page impressions are staying much the same. There's a little bit of peak on Sundays, but there's nothing particularly disturbing going on. And if anything, actually, it's going a bit better than it was. You might want to compare this to last year, and then you can be realistic with yourself. And impressions and page views is really all that eBay can deliver to you. And some might argue that impressions are all that eBay can deliver to you, because it's up to you to get people to click on your listings. But then you can have a look at page views. And again, there's a classic thing of, you might look at this number here and say, "Oh, that's much lower than last time." But again, the reality is that big line there is the exception, that actually everything's been noodling along at the same rate. What is different here, and you can see it, is when you get down to quantity sold, and you can look at this and say, well, this isn't particularly encouraging, because whilst my traffic and my page views are the same, my sales aren't quite what they were before. Is eBay doomed? Am I doomed? Well, I might want to look at what's going on in my market, check my listings and so on and so forth, to see whether I'm converting as much as I was, and other underlying reasons. But for the most part, so long as you're getting your traffic and your page views, the world will turn. Now, when I've got a good idea of what I'm doing, how my traffic is, how my page views are, what's happening with my sales, then I think, well, I need to know what everybody else is up to. And there's a pretty quick way of doing that. I go on to Terapeak, I research. Now I sell cat toys, so I'm just researching cat toys. I do my research here and it pumps out the numbers. Terapeak always gives you this useless average sold price beforehand. But look, here's the graph of what's going on in terms of items sold. You can look at each individual day, you can drill down, but effectively what that's telling you is there's nothing dramatic going on. This number's lower because it's today, and today isn't finished yet, but sales are going up. If anything, yesterday was quite a good day in terms of cat toys, and it can tell me the stuff that's actually selling quite well and has done some volume. So, from that, when I'm asking myself the question, is everybody else having a tough time? Well, I don't need to ask that question. I can just look it up here. If you're worried, existentially about things, you can have a little click on the last 3 years and do research. And this will give you an idea of a long-term trend within your category. And as you can see here, once we get past the useless average sold price, you can see that within cat toys, there is actually a slow and steady decline. So this year is worse than last year, and so on and so forth. There's a downward arrow. What you'll find is, for some categories, it will be up. For other categories, it will be down. Cat toys suffers because it's mostly new products, and eBay is stronger now on collectibles, pre-loved, used, for want of a different word. But it's still big, is the thing, and you can still carve out a good living. It's not like this has plummeted or anything like that. So you can know what everybody else is up to. You can see kind of specifically what everybody else is up to and who's doing well within your category. And you can benchmark yourself against that. Now, if you are doing poorly relative to the other people within your category, if other items are doing better than yours, then you need to look at those items and you need to look at your own items and see why you're out of step. Are you selling the wrong thing? Are you selling the thing wrongly? This is where you deep dive in. And you can get tips from the other sellers who are doing well if you're not. But actually, most of the time, this will just reassure you that it's probably just a blip in your sales and things will be okay in the long run. So to sum up, when you see a post like this, there's one thing you should do is ignore it. If you can't bring yourself to ignore it, then reply with, have you looked at your numbers? Have you looked at the terror peak? Look at those things, and you don't need to ask that question. You can be that person on the internet. What's more important is if you're asking yourself that question, even if it's only in your head. If you're asking yourself that question, now is the time to look at the numbers yourself. Look at your own performance and see if there's anything dramatically different between this month and last month, or this month and the month before. Remember to factor in how many items you have relative to the period before. You find out whether something is actually going on with your listings, and then you compare it to the experience of other sellers within your category. You will see whether your category is doing well or doing poorly relative to those time periods by looking at it on TerraPeak. And then if you are badly out of step, then you can start investigating. Look at what other people are doing better than you. Look what items they have, which may be more attractive than yours. And then look at your own offering and be honest with yourself about things that may need improving on your side. Also, and I think this is a top tip, is that there's a tendency amongst sellers to see a drop in sales as some, dramatic event, whereas a rise in sales, you just think, oh, I'm just excellent. And these things tend to balance themselves out. You have good days and you have bad days, and you're not freaking out when you have a good day. You sometimes freak out when you have a bad day. Things even themselves out over the course of the season a lot of the time. So don't panic the first time you see a bit of a blip in your sales. You're dealing with human beings. Sometimes they just won't be biting. So good luck in all your selling. Make sure you're looking at your numbers rather than drawing conclusions from no data. And if you like this video, please click the like, subscribe, and tell all your friends. Have a nice day. Cheers.